Here at Ideal, we think of cars as the world's most exciting piggy banks, and here are 10 incredible machines that you should buy ASAP if you want to watch their value skyrocket over the next several years. Like, subscribe, and let's go! Kicking things off, we're going with a Japanese icon with twin turbos, timeless 90s styling, and an incredible drivetrain. And no guys, it is not the Supra, nor is it the RX-7. It's the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. It's a car that has more or less flown under the radar for decades, in the shadows of the GTRs, the RX-7s, and the Supras of its time. The VR4 has a racy sounding 3-liter V6 with sequential twin turbos, making 300 horses on the dot. The VR4 also came with advanced all-wheel drive system that included 4-wheel steering, something that you'd only see on a modern Porsche GT car today. Not only are they a blast to drive, with great power, grippy suspension, and a manual transmission, it's a hard one to beat. So let's take a look at the average cost and the low and high end of the spectrum. And of course, if you want to find any of these Ideal deals, I've pinned the first comment with them all down there. So go check them out. You might find one that you like. Beautiful. So here we are for the 3000 GT VR4, and let's take a look at the last year of sales and no sales. Now, average price was $17,700, top sale was $28,000, and the lowest was $6,000. So let's first take a look at that one that went for $6,000, which seems extremely low. And here we are. Now, I bet there is a sweet, sweet story with this one, and now, paint scuffs are present, the turn signals, they don't even work. Carfax reports notes of that recovery in 95 and damage in 2000 and 2005. So this is a $6,000 example for a VR4. I don't think you can get them for much less than that, especially if they're running. So let's take a look at the one that sold for the most in the last 12 months, and that's up here for $28,600. Red is always a nice color on these 3000 GTs, and overall, it's in really good condition. How many miles? Ha, that's why. 24,739 actual miles. So, I mean, mileage does sell a car. So low miles usually are going to mean high prices. Yes, it is the last naturally aspirated M3, and it's the only V8 M3. The E9X is poised to appreciate. First, you get world-class design that has aged oh so gracefully. And under the hood, a revvy 4-liter spitting out 414 glorious horsepower. Yes, that is over 100 horsepower per liter, and yes, it won Engine of the Year awards, beating out things like, well, the 911 GT3 RSs. The fact that you can get these things for a steal of a deal is beyond me. I owned an E90 M3 for over a year, and I absolutely loved it. It's one of the most versatile, daily drivable sports cars, but you can also get it in a coupe as well as a convertible, and you can get a manual or a DCT transmission, which actually is really good. No matter what flavor you decide, they're a ton of fun. Alrighty, one of my favorite M cars ever built, and let's go back to the last year to give a good idea of where we're at. And as you can see, this blue line, well, it's pretty flat. These cars are so good. I truly believe that they're only going to appreciate. I mean, there's just nothing like them out there. So with that, we see that the average sales price is around $33,000, lowest being $16K and highest being $80. It's going to be interesting. So let's go take a look at this guy that sold for $16,000. Wow, manual transmission, black, beige interior, but it has 150,000 miles on it. Now, overall, I wouldn't be scared to drive this thing though, but still, it has a lot of miles. Now, if we take a look at the Primo one, at $80,000 plus fees, that's almost 84 grand or so, but it has 2,400 miles. It's not a spectacular color combination, but the fact that it has pretty much brand new delivery miles on it. Again, I wouldn't personally buy this one as an investment. I'd find something in the middle because that's the one that has the best chance of appreciating. This guy, I mean, you can't drive it, and that's not why you buy a car like this. So find one for around 30 and you're in a good spot. The Porsche 996.1911, it's a late 90s innovation, and it marked a pivotal moment in Porsche's legacy. It was the first 911 to transition from the iconic air-cooled engines to more fuel-efficient water pumping, signaling a new era in Porsche engineering. This model featured a sleek, modernized design with integrated headlights and turn signals, breaking away from that classic bug-eye look. The 996.1 offered enhanced performance, being lighter and more powerful than its predecessor, the 993, with technological advancements in engine management and suspension systems that further augmented its driving dynamics. Available in Carrera and high-performance turbo variants, it catered to a range of enthusiasts. And it's not just a speedster. And owning one still, after 4 years, the 996, it's just great for everyday usability. And these things will only appreciate because of its historical significance. I mean, it represents the transformative phase of the 911 series and remains a relatively affordable entry into the Porsche classic car market, making it really a prize choice for both enthusiasts and collectors. Now, the one I'm always on the lookout for is a 996.1 C2 with the optional limited slip differential. Pop the bonnet, and if you see option code 220 on it, well, then you found one that has the LSD. It's pretty much a baby GT3. I really want one. So, what's the market look like? With the dot ones, if we back up to the last year, you can see that again, that average sales price is really flat. And I think this is one of the best times to buy a 911, especially a 996, because they are instant classics and they're going to continue to rise over the next few years. As you can see, average sale price around 27K, lowest price at under 10, highest price at over 55. So let's take a look at this guy here. It sold for $10,900. And as you can see, even in the title, it says a 6-speed project. So this is literally as low as it goes for a 6-speed manual. You're going to be spending 10K. Now, if we go back and take a look at what brings top dollar for these 996.1 gens, well, here it is. Now, the interesting thing about this car and why the price was so high is it has two really sought after packages. It has the Aero Kit and it has the M014 Sport package. So it has a limited slip, and that Aero Kit is super hard to find. That rear wing just looks awesome. I mean, overall, this gives it a way more sporty exterior versus just a regular car. 8,000 miles on it, so it's pretty much brand new. I mean, that's kind of the grail for 996.1s. Jeeps are just the kings of fighting depreciation. And the Jeep CJ8, known as the Scrambler, is a cherished classic in the Jeep lineage, famed for its blend of utility and off-road prowess. Introduced in the 1980s, it featured an extended wheelbase compared to the CJ7, which gave it more stability and extra space for cargo. Its distinct design, including a removable half cab, transforming it into a small pickup style vehicle. Now, it was produced in limited quantities, which means that prices are bound to go up. And just check out those iconic irresistible grills and round headlights. Plus the robust off-road capabilities, this thing is a true winner and a popular choice for anybody that loves Jeep. But they're still affordable, and they're bound to go up. Now, over the last year, if we take a look, you can see that prices have been pretty steady for average prices, but trending up slightly. Average price around 25 grand, as low as 10 grand, and as high as 40 grand trading hands. So if we take a look at what the lowest one traded hands at, you have a nice little early 80s Jeep CJ8 with 83,000-ish miles on it. The one thing I think that really hurts this vehicle, though, are the modifications. When you're looking for more of an investment versus just a driver, modifications detract. The more modified a car is, the more modified the buyer is as well. Now, this is a lot of vehicle for 10 grand, but the thing is, when you're buying kind of the low end of the barrel, you're gonna have to put some money in it to keep it on the road. Now, let's take a look at what was the high end. All right, well, 4-speed manual, it has 14,900 miles, but that is actually unknown. But just taking a look at these photos, you can tell this is a very, very nice example. It's most likely restored, even though with the low mileage on it. And again, this is probably gonna be a little bit more of a museum piece, especially for a Jeep where you're gonna wanna take it off-road, you might pinstripe it, and this is just a little too nice to actually go out and discover some new places. So I wouldn't buy, again, I would buy middle tier, buy around 25,000 bucks for a Scrambler, and you're off to the races. Okay, let's switch gears completely and talk about Ferrari's first 4-wheel drive production car. Yeah, the FF, believe it or not, which was launched in the 2010s, was a bold shooting great design, deviating from the brand's usual sports car aesthetic to offer more practicality. It features a spacious interior with 4 comfortable seats and a generous trunk, making it one of Ferrari's most versatile models. Under the hood lies a potent 6.3-liter V12 V12 engine, delivering 651 horses, enabling a swift 0 to 60 in just 3.7 and sounding incredible doing it. And while I agree its successor, the GT4 Lusso, looks like a much more complete car, yeah, that FF, some of it just doesn't look completely finished. The Lusso's still trading hands at roughly $200,000. Where the FF, on the other hand, this is the little Ferrari that could, and it's been underappreciated for the past 5 years. As you can see, I mean, these things with a high MSRP were trading hands for pretty much the past 5 years around $110,000, $120,000. And if we take a look at the last year of these things being sold, you can see that, I mean, look at this, you guys. Average is 125, lowest is 96, and top is 159. That under $100,000 for a contemporary Ferrari, I know is a lot of money, but man, that is a deal. So let's take a look at this black one. Has 30,000 miles, so it's definitely been driven, especially for Ferraris. And, you know, overall, it's a beautiful vehicle. Now, the biggest thing that you have to know about exotic cars is that it's all about MSRP and what spec it is, more so than an E90 M3 or any of the other vehicles we've talked about today on this list. And that's because the higher MSRP, it's gonna have the carbon fiber, maybe ceramic brakes, the wheel with the digital tachometer. Overall, those things do matter when it comes to resale price. This is a pretty plain spec, but still such a beautiful car. Now, if we go to the high end, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about because this black Ferrari also has roughly 30,000 miles, except it went for 30-something thousand more dollars. And that's because the spec is just that much better. If I had to guess, the MSRP between this one and the other one that was the lowest priced is probably roughly $100,000 more for this one. And so that's what brings the money with these cars. Now, if you're looking for something domestic, unique, and more importantly, going up in value all the time, well, the Pontiac GTO has to be your pick. After the original GTO was killed off in 1974, Pontiac fans were left in the dark for 30 freaking years before the next one came out. But boy, it was worth the wait. Its quintessential early 2000s styling, paired with its muscular vents and strong front clip, earned this car a place among muscle car enthusiasts instantly. Even just the base car came with a 350 horsepower 5.7 liter small block Chevy that could dust pretty much everything priced around the same price point on the road. And for a little extra dough, you could upgrade that base 4-speed automatic to a Tremec 6-speed manual. You have to have manual in this thing. Plus, the 6-liter version came out just a bit later and blew the socks off with 400 horsepower. But after that, the GTO was killed again in 2006 amid a failing Pontiac, cementing the legend in time once again. So for this 4-year run car, it's a free-for-all, and getting one now is much better than later as they'll be classics and worth tons of cash.
Yes, I mean, you kind of have to have a mullet for one of these, but I'm already well on my way. So these are really interesting vehicles, and at the end of the day, you can see that the average sales price has been going up over the last 5 years. Now, average sales price over the last year has been 22 grand, with the lowest being 12 and the highest being 34. So let's take a look at one that sold for the least. And here it is. Plain Jane Silver, 5.7 liter V8, but with an automatic, and sold for 10 grand. Now, this is the least desirable spec that you could possibly get on a GTO. So now let's take a look at the high end of the market. And this is a beaut, Clark. Just check this out. I mean, if you're gonna get one of these GTOs, this is the one. It's a beautiful vehicle with only 13,000 original miles on it. This one, although I don't love the red interior, is definitely very high on the collectability list, but also one that has enough miles on it that you could get away with driving it a few thousand miles over a couple of years, enjoying it, and still selling it for most likely a profit over the course of your ownership experience.
Much like the GTO, the BMW 1M is one of those cars that was around for a good time, but not a long time. And yes, it left a lasting impression on the car community as one of the best M cars to ever see the production line, even though it wasn't technically a fully baked M product. Even so, the 2011 and 2012 model brought everything you could ever want in a sports car. Yeah, a sweet sounding and smooth 330 horsepower inline 6, a 6-speed manual transmission, rear-wheel drive with a limited slip diff, and some of the most well-balanced chassis tuning ever seen from the boys at BMW. This essentially one-year-only car was something the M division has arguably never topped, with the M2 coming in at a close second. And the auction prices, they show it. Now, there are only around 6,300 units ever sold in the entire world. Everyone with a soft spot for an engaging and satisfying sports car experience has been dreaming of getting behind the wheel of one. Prices only going up, just like the revs right here.
Now, what's so charming about these 1Ms, and don't confuse it with the M1, is that it is a parts bin special, and well, they're going to continue to appreciate in value. Now, over the last 5 years, you can see that they were underappreciated up until 2022-ish, and that's when, well, people started to realize what these things actually were. If we take a look back at the last year, you can see it's pretty steady, but it definitely has gone up a little bit. The average sales price is 59,000 with a low of 38 and a high of almost 90. So let's take a look at that low number. Okay, so here's one of the cheapest ones, and I absolutely love those wheels. It does have 48,000 miles on it, which is quite a bit for 53,000 bucks. But overall, I mean, this is pocket-sized fun. Okay, now let's take a look at the high end. Whoo! Yikes! 90,000 bucks plus fees. Again, mileage matters. 7,000 miles on this 1M. Same color, but with way less miles, and that is why it went for so much.
Now, if you like the 1M Coupe's smooth revving engine, you'll definitely like this next pick. It's the Acura Integra Type R. There's so much to say about this delightful compact car, but here's what you gotta know. Despite being overshadowed in the JDM market by the usual suspects you all know, this Integra Type R set the standard for not only front-wheel drive handling and steering, but for performance 4 cylinders in general for decades. For the US market, this 1.8-liter firecracker makes a peak 195 horses at a whopping 8,000 RPM. And you have to hear this car at Redline at least once in your life, in real life, if you want to die a happy man. But for those lucky few who want to hear that every day, right now is the time to buy. You see, Type R prices have gone up wildly in the past couple of years, and as is the case with the rest of this list, it'll continue to do so.
And over the last year, it's actually been depreciating just slightly. You can see this cluster over here of a few vehicles that have traded hands in the 30s. So let's take a look. Now, average price is 45. Lowest is 20 with the highest top sale of 151,000, baby. And if we take a look at this guy, $20,000. Okay, and this one has a lot of miles, which killed the price. Now, it's a Honda, so it's gonna go forever, but this is a little too much mileage for one that is gonna have much collectability over the next coming years. So you don't wanna necessarily buy the cheapest one, you wanna buy the one that is the best value. So let's take a look at the one that sold for $151,000. Wow. Okay. I mean, this has 6,000 miles on it, and obviously it shows. Once again, mileage matters, and this is an absolute stunner in championship white. They only made 320 of these in the US market in 1997, which means it's very rare and, you know, less supply, more demand.
Plymouth and then Chrysler Prowler is a cool retro-inspired design that is sure to stand out in a crowd. It is a nod to the hot rods of the 30s and 40s, featuring an open-wheel front, a low-slung body, and a unique grille, making it one of the most distinctive cars of all time. Its extensive use of aluminum in construction set a precedent, enhancing its lightness and efficiency. The Prowler's limited production adds to its exclusivity. While its 3.5-liter V6 engine might not be the most powerful, it was upgraded for the last few years to a respectable 253 horses. Now it's time for the honorable mention. And you see, this one's tricky because it could go one of two ways. We think it's still gonna go up. But now that they're finally legal, is that going to make the market cool down? Well, maybe. Let us know your thoughts down below. Here's my take. If you import it yourself instead of buying it from someone like Top Rank who did the importing for you, you will have a very safe investment to park your money. Plus, a really cool car to drive. And since they're now 25 years old, a lot of them have also been used up.
Okay, you guys, I went out on a limb here and I love the R34s. They just became legal and they're only going to have more and more imported into the US in the coming years. And this is what kind of scares me is right when they were importable, you see that these two actually sold, one for 125, the other for, well, 111. Now, these red dots here mean that these didn't sell. And here's one that didn't sell for 150, another one that didn't sell for 167, and then you got these two down here, one for $81,000 and the other one for 96. Both of them did not hit reserve. So I'm not going to go through highs and lows here. It's more so if you import it yourself, there's a really good chance that over the next year or two, you could drive it for free or even make money enjoying it. Although it's just time will tell with whether or not it gets too saturated. These cars end up starting trading hands for less and less money. So that's why it's the honorable mention.
The CTS-V Wagon is one of those vehicles that just won't be made again and has the kind of character and lovability that lasts generations. It may look a little funky compared to the sedan version, but in the car community, or at least to me, it's way better. Made from 2011 to 2014, this wagon came from the factory with a 6.2-liter V8, making over 550 horses. You can haul the kids and you can haul the mail, as it does 0 to 60 in just 4 seconds. Hence, it comes with a manual transmission. Yes, a manual. Go save the manuals. Our best-selling ideal tee up here. Because the CTS-V both feels and drives like a true sports touring car. But because they're so rare, with only 514 manual CTS-V wagons in existence, you know prices are only going to climb.
Over the last 5 years, people have caught on, especially to the manuals, which they only made about 500 of them. And the average price over the last year, let's take a look, was $66,000 with the lowest price of $40,000 and the top of $93,000. That's a huge discrepancy. Now, the one that went for $40,000, let's take a look at that. And really the main reason is because it had so many miles on it. 112,000 for a GM product. It's getting up there and it's going to need things like suspension and maybe a transmission at some point. So that's what kind of scared off a lot of buyers. And I honestly think it's a pretty good deal at $40,000. Now let's take a look at one that went for 100 almost. Wow. This is beautiful. I mean, 35,000 miles on a 13, that's 10 years old. I mean, that's like, what, 3,000 miles a year? Okay, so that's absolutely wild. If you can see, it says $72,000, and they couldn't really sell these things back in the day. So they probably got it for less than that. This is the original owner. They drove it for 10 years and sold it for $20,000 plus more than they bought it for. That's incredible. And that's what you're trying to do too. Again, I would not be buying a $90,000 one, but I'd be looking for one that's in the 60s to 70s and a manual transmission. I mean, you're not going to lose. They don't make this anymore. And so that's why this car and all the other cars are on this ideal list.
And guys, real quick, if you want to learn how we buy, enjoy, and then ultimately sell for a premium ideal cars, usually make money on them, check out our free workshop down below. I'll link to it in the first pinned comment. It's completely free. So what do you have to lose? Well, nothing except driving the most exciting piggy banks. And of course, there's dozens of cars that could be on this list, so let us know which ones that we've missed down below. And if you enjoyed this vid, like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, check out this ideal vid up here, or whatever YouTube recommends you watch next down here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal, promise you one thing, keep living the ideal lifestyle.